All right, welcome to the Judiciary meeting. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll for us.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot.
Here.
9, and we have a quorum.
All right, we've got a quorum. We're going to make a little bit of an adjustment. Senator Jones is here. He's got SB 153, and he's got other obligations, so we're going to bump him up to the top. Senator Jones, if you'll tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If everybody look on page 3, that's the thrust of the bill. Basically, all those items in paren B there were able to be expunged, but for some reason, a youthful offender for those same offenses was not in some cases, and we've had a lot of digging on that. So, simple bill.
Move favorable.
Yes, sir. Senator Smith.
Page 3 on Bill SB 153.
Which is the last one.
So basically, if you look at the paragraph where the underlying language is, all of those misdemeanor offenses, violations, traffic violations were expungible, but a youthful offender for those same violations has not been in some cases. I had a constituent with this issue.
Just correct me. I thought that youth offender was, I mean, I'm going to vote for you, but I'm just trying to get some understanding. I thought youth offender was a curtain and shield that was put up where they couldn't get to the information anyway. Is something going wrong with that process?
That's exactly it. And my friends from Aaliyah here, Sam has done a lot of digging. Are you comfortable giving some more?
Mr. Adams, if you'll come up and kind of address Senator Smitherman's question, maybe.
Yes, sir. We had to do a lot of digging on this one. As he said, at first we thought the same thing, that youthful offender and the expungement was not needed for that. That's not the case in the law. Doesn't mention youthful offender. In some circuits, interpret it different ways. So some have been expunging those records, and some have not. It comes up in a few different areas. We can get you more information if you'd like, but we did a lot of digging, like I said, and found out that this would clarify the law and make it uniform across the state.
How detailed can you get that information? Can you get it by categories as well?
By categories of
people?
Of people.
Males, females, et cetera,
No, sir, we don't have a good way of pulling reports on that. We really had to look at some different cases to see how this was applied and where it was expunged.
Can you tell us by county?
Possibly by county. Okay. I'll check with CJIS and see what we can pull.
If you have it, I don't want you to go to all this super extra work.
We can have a conversation too.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
We've got a couple of folks that want to speak. Senator Bell had raised his hand, then Senator Coleman Madison, and then Senator Albritton. I would say I support the bill. A youthful offender is not a conviction, as I understand it. It's simply an adjudication, so it should be able to be expunged. Senator Bell.
I'm like Senator Smitherman. I've always been understood that when you plead youthful offender, it was sealed anyway. I mean, I'm supporting the bill. I think I'm good with this, but who's getting the information, I guess, is my question, because I've been understood all these years that it's just like a juvenile conviction. It's sealed, that maybe the military and law enforcement's all that could ever get it. Is somebody else getting that information? I guess if so, we need to fix that process, because we've all been told in the court system, once you plead youthful offender, it's done. I mean, so I guess who gets the information? I'm curious, because I use youthful offender all the time.
Sure. Like I said, I can get you some more information on who's getting that, but there was and this came up as a kind of a quirky case. I know that, and I had to get some clarification from the person that it happened to find out what happened. Actually, that case was a issue with the arresting department, so they were able to clear that up without, but I can get you some more information on that.
Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Senator Jones. The expungement bill was one that I brought. And one of the arguments that I made was because a lot of our young people get caught into this and they get a record. And it was my assumption, like a lot of people, that was included. I know that there are several cities that are already taking advantage of this when it comes down to our youth and doing their own expungement since the law passed. But, you know, it just points up one other thing that we can't catch everything, but it's important that when things like this come up, that we do correct it, we do take time, and to try to clarify. On a lot of bills, we are going back and trying to clarify things. We don't think about it, but it does have unintended consequences on our citizens. So thank you, Senator John. I support your bill. I think it's a good addition to it.
Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What's the difference between a youthful offender and a juvenile?
Can I answer that? At least my understanding, some of the lawyers may correct me, a juvenile is typically under the age of 18, except a 16 or 17-year-old that may be subject to an automatic transfer to adult court or a hearing to get them to adult court. And 18 to 21 is YO eligible. So although an adult, it's kind of a second bite of the apple, a little bit of grace.
Is 18 to 21 the age of the person at the time of conviction or plea, or the age at the time of the offense?
You could be 25 years old and get youthful offender for a bin or a commission of a crime that occurred between ages 18 and 21.
Thank you for that clarification, because that's been my experience. And now also this mentions about conviction of a misdemeanor, and then it goes on violation or traffic violation of municipal ordinances. But it's also very true, from my experience, that there's many people that will plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge below the felony charge that they've been arrested for and charged with as a youthful offender at age 25, and that they will be able to have this expunged at some point thereafter. Am I illustrating that accurately? Sounds about right. Yeah. So my point I'm getting here to, ladies and gentlemen, is if we allow this to go through as is, and having an expungement on an individual that pled when he was 25 years old to a lessened charge from a felony down to a misdemeanor, and then have that expunged, is that really where we want to go?
Mr. Chairman. After you get through, anybody was going to respond to him, I'm going to yield to that, because I just have a comment.
Let me have a comment too as well on that, and we may be in like accord on that. Court system and the DA's office, if they're charged with a felony and they believe it shouldn't have been a felony, or there's a lack of evidence to prove that, as you know, sometimes
or it's easier.
There are a whole host of reasons that it's reduced, but I don't think that those folks who get youthful offender status under the current law should be precluded from having it expunged. Senator Smithman?
I was just going to add in addition that, you know, sometimes, I just said, I'm being light with my statement, sometimes it's intentionally charged at that level for that purpose. I mean, you know, I think we covered. No. Yeah, I mean, if the room is there to do it, yes, because they're trying to get convictions. The second problem we got is that we don't have enough funds in the public defender's office. So you got the public defenders handling one public defender. I saw one in Shelby County. They're handling like 100 cases. Ain't no way only thing they can do is just get people to plead, you know, and so you have all those factors that's got to be addressed. You're right, you know,
say that
what
again?
You're saying, but you're right. But you got to deal with these factors. You know, what I always said, we right now, that what you're saying is the airplane. What I'm talking about is the wings. You know, that's happening. So it's in that balance. I think that all of this is trying to kind of compensate for the things that I just said to get us to a baseline. Because if we just focus on, you're right, what you said. Some of those are like that. But if we focus on that, then all of these innocent people are gonna be jammed. They got representation. You know, over here, they got money to fight the big charges, so they got to plead down. It's just that until we ready to pour some money into it, and then it's hard to fix the problem that you're saying.
And I understand and I agree. All I'm pointing out here is some of the issues that we may be considering when we may be voting for something that we may not know what we're voting on. And if I might, Mr. Chair, one other question on the expungement. What does that mean? Is that like you hit a delete button and it goes away, but it doesn't actually go away? Does it? Do you burn the old records? What does it?
It's available to law enforcement and other entities, I think is what he's going to say.
Right, that's right. So in a pre-employment background check, those would not show up for normal cases of employment. However, law enforcement and some other groups like that would have access to that information, even though it was expunged.
So and the expungements are not the true word. It's really more of a limited access.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I guess you could say that, but it's very narrow in who's going to see those.
It narrows the access down because not everyone can get to that information anyway without particular items. So this simply narrows the thing down. So my point is expungement, as we have in our mind, is not what we're doing. So I'm done. Thank you.
All right, Senator Gavan had offered a motion for favorable report, second by Senator Coleman Madison. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton? Senator Bell? Senator Carnley? Senator Coleman Madison?
Aye.
Senator Elliott? Senator Figures? Senator Gavan?
I vote like Albritton did.
Senator Orr? Senator Singleton? Senator Smitherman?
I'm voting aye and just tell him he ain't got time to deal with this right now.
Senator Stutz? Senator Weaver? Senator Barfoot?
Aye.
11 favor.
All right, Bill's given favorable report. Going back to the top of the agenda, Senator Figures isn't here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members.
Thank you. She had asked me to handle SB 95. There is an amendment on that. I'd point the committee to that amendment. It is, as I understand in my conversations as recently as about 30 seconds ago with Senator Figures, that is a friendly amendment. And as I understand it, it would cover any type of electronic device, maybe a pain pump or a diabetes type pump. Senator Smith.
In that case, I move for adoption on the amendment.
Move adoption amendment, second by Senator Gavan. Any opposition using previous roll, or anybody want to be added to the yeses? All right, hearing no opposition, we'll use previous roll on that. Back on the bill now. I know your members, y'all have had an opportunity to look through there, but this essentially what this does is if an individual under the age of 21 possesses an electronic device, battery-powered device capable of being used to deliver any e-liquid substitute tobaccos, CBD oil, THC oil, oral extract, nicotine salt, or any analog thereof, or any other substance to which the individual can inhale it, inhale the vapor. This makes that a violation, and the minor child decided for a violation, the citing agency shall make reasonable efforts to notify the parent or guardian of that violation. So be glad to try to entertain questions or comments, Senator Smitherman.
Yes, at the proper time, I move for final passage as amendment at the proper time.
Motion and a second. Senator Albritton.
Just a comment. I noticed this, the age is, and this isn't changing, is age 21. What's the age of majority? 18?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? 18 some things, 19 for others.
Exactly. Can't we come to an agreement? Why don't we change this to 35? I mean, most people, anyway.
How about 53, because I'm still 52.
No, we better change it. Anyway.
Got a first and second. Any other questions, comments, or discussions? Any opposition using previous roll? Hearing none, bill's given favorable report. Next on the agenda is SB 34, Senator Smitherman. I believe you've got an amendment as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm next. I thought Senator Weaver was next. I guess you the champ.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you want to.
Oh, you go ahead.
Let's go SB 109, get back on the regular order. SB 109, Senator Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the Alabama Child Protection Act. It does a couple of things. We are having a lot of problems in the state with computer-generated AI child pornography. And this bill updates the language that we have in our current law. And the word for child pornography is now CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material. So it updates that language to describe child pornography now using the term CSAM. And it keeps in place all of our current laws and penalties against child pornography. It just adds AI-generated child porn to what is prohibited. In your packet, you will see a sub. It's the same sub that I sent out yesterday. And the reason that we have a sub, this bill that I have as the sub passed the House 101, something unanimously, downstairs last week. And all the amendments and things that they had produced, instead of adding all those amendments, we just added it into a sub. So move adoption of,
Motion for adoption of Senator Van, Senator Smithman on the second, on the substitute, the bill is substituted.
okay, so the sub actually just added.
Excuse me, let me, first and a second, any opposition using previous roll? Hearing none, we're on the sub.
So the sub, again, just added the legislative finding to support the change in the law. There were some technical changes related to the CSAM, and then there were some amendments that added tech companies that had to report things federally so that they were included in that.
Senator Smithman.
Where it's got under 17 years.
So I asked that question too when it came up. And the thought on that is there was discussion about whether a 17-year-old body is different than an 18-year-old body. Now, there was belief that some kids may look different at 17 and 18, and I guess we'd have to defer to the doctor on that one, but I don't have a strong feeling either way on that one, but that was their reasoning for adding that to the bill, is the difference in the body development.
Senator Singleton.
In the AI generation, are they taking the image of the person and putting it on a false body or an image body that AI generated, or is this a real face? And putting it on?
So there,
All animated.
AI is so scary. I mean, to me it is. You have all this stuff. So AI using real child porn, generates more child, or CSAM. And I hear you. So, there are situations where kids are taking pictures of other kids, putting the faces on there. And then the question becomes, is this a real body or is it an AI generated body? But between me and you, I mean, it looks real. And the discussion that everybody has had is, we need to add AI to this part of the law, because the burden of proof is that, how do you say that this is AI generated or a real child? CSAM is CSAM, and that's why we're updating the law like that, just to say that AI is now a part of the CSAM statute.
What if someone make it look like Bobby Cylinder, but they don't put glasses on? Or if it's scar?
All the idea was not have anything on it.
Is that really generated? Is that real? Change my, does that make me different? Or just because it similarly looks like me?
So I think you're a little bit above the age limit. I don't know. Right. Yeah.
Somebody want to look at.
Right. And I think it's.
I ate breakfast, Bobby.
So, for you anyway.
Yeah.
You ain't got your stomach.
Right. Yeah. And I think, it's whether it's you or whether it's not you, if it's a pornographic image related to a child, it's an issue.
I hear you. Just looking at, when we look at images, that is not real. And if there's something that almost it's like a photographic, that we change it just a little bit, is that really them? Is it something a little bit different? If the eyes is not as big, or if the nose is not as wide, is that really them? Can one have a defense and say that's really not you because I make the lips bigger or something of that nature because it's AI generated?
Right. And I think that that's what we bring by bringing this bill is AI has so many facets of everything that is way above my skill level. I mean, people know how to do this. I obviously am learning, but
Let me say this to you. I see some young ladies put AI on Facebook. And I know that are 250 pounds, but they make themselves look like they I'm serious. And they make themselves look like they're size 10, okay? But the face look like them, but I know that's not them. But at the end of the day, they say on the top, this is my dream body. Okay, but that may not be them. Is that really something I can charge somebody with when they depict that person, you know, to say, is that really the true image of that person versus just the image?
right. And for the purpose of that, if you are the perpetrator and you have CSAM, pornographic images that you are distributing, that's why the AI is important because we don't have to have it as the actual victim. The AI generated image is included in that.
I just don't want to take technology, feel technology, and or charge someone with something without maybe giving them an affirmative defense. We can mess somebody's life up by talking about child pornography based on something that's not a real image versus a animated image.
Right. And again, it's not changing any of the laws or penalties. It's just adding that AI piece to it.
Senator Coleman Madison, and then be Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Weaver, based on our discussions earlier, I do agree with because things are happening. I mean, you can go on the internet or YouTube or whatever, and I look at things all the time, and you see images of a person's face that's on there, and them in a compromising position. But if you know the person, I know that's not them. That's not something that they would do. But I do, I can appreciate you adding this in because a lot of people have been accused of crimes based on what they see. And you got the picture and they present this in court as evidence. That person goes to jail. There are a lot of people right now that are locked up in jail. If we could go back, there are a lot of people that are accused of crimes based on something like this. And I also want to give credit to Senator Orr because he brought something similar to this, that is not something that you could use as a sole determinant of whether this was this person as far as a visual image, because we understand that now with technology, no, we're not trying to kill technology, but I think we have to move cautiously with all of these types of things and not just say, okay, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread and take it, and all of us could be subject to that kind of thing. So we just have to try to pull up barriers where we can and stay woke. Thank you.
Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the sub on some of the language. I'm on your page 14, lines 368 through 375. This is a Class B felony. That's a 2 to 20 years. Correct? Okay. I didn't think they changed that. And the opportunity for gaining conviction is going to rely on particular mental beliefs. According to this, and this is talking about distributing by any means that reflects, in a manner that reflects the belief. I'm not sure. I think they mean the belief of the perpetrator. I think that's what they mean, or that is intended to cause another to believe. And then it goes on that the material is a visual depiction of an actual individual. So someone's got to believe that this matter is a real person, as I understand it from reading this. And how do you prove somebody what they believe or not believe? Anyway, I've just got some questions about that, and particularly when you're going to send someone away for 2 to 20 years on a matter of what you think someone might have believed might be actual or not. I just got some concerns there.
Senator Smith.
Just be brief.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. I agree 100%.
Another agreement. I'm doing on a roll.
I do, and I I really kind of debated what I was going to say this, but after you said this, we really got to look careful at all these bills, like he said, with those wonders to do this. It looks very cute that we get hard on crime, bam, give them 20 years, do this. But in essence, you've got to be very careful about the elements, and that's what you have to make it, I think, in part of the crime, and the objectivity in being able to determine that. Much of this is subjective. And y'all heard me say on the flow, subjective, I'm just gonna say it for what it is. You know, you got one race who's the victim, you got another race, I'm just using race, and another race who did it. Subjectivity is not gonna go in that faith, just like you gotta believe. And they ain't gonna get the benefit of the doubt. They just tell the truth. Tell the truth. They're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So if the crime happened, they're guilty and they got to prove themselves innocent. And the elements to be able to do it is not tight enough in here that they're going to have. I'm going to vote for your bill, but they don't have that ability. It makes us feel good when we walk out of here. But the impact that it's going to have outside these walls on the people is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And not just this bill. We've got to be careful. You know, we are going backwards. We had a sentencing commission to get some uniformity and a proper punishment for the crimes. Now we're taking crimes that are not of that magnitude just because somebody's feelings hurt or they don't like it or that they don't agree with it, and then we making it be like it's a crisis, and it may be to some people. But you still got to remember, when we come down here, yes, I get constituents that ask me to do things just like everybody else. But we got to realize that you may have satisfied that constituent, but you done jammed up 10 other people, you know, because you want to do just what that person wants you to do. We have to make decisions on what's the right thing to do when people send us down here and ask us, and not just run down there and do because I had somebody back there to say that the meeting, we got to do this here, so let me run down there and do this. Because in all due respect to my colleague, I'll say this. We should have did a better job with this good time stuff on people who, if they commit violent crimes, hurting people, we should have keep them in jail. But we got folks who got lightweight stuff that we keeping them in jail just as long as folks who committed those other crimes. And we getting, you know, we can't get so carried away, you know, of the good field that we don't take the tough stands and be tough. It's telling people that this is what the line of what we should or shouldn't do. Because you're right in here. I guarantee you what he said is right. Put the image up there. Put it up there, and then you said that, okay, here's the images. You can't hardly tell. Y'all seen on TV. You can't tell. So it's just what you said in the mind. The courts itself so far have said that you can't use mental impression. Am I right? For the lawyers in here, you can't use mental impression. You know, when you asking people to respond and testify to what your mental impression. Am I right? Mental impression.
I believe that's true in some circumstances.
Yes, in the majority of them. Would you agree with that? Well, you don't have to. I understand. I want to ask you to put yourself in a position, but I can just tell you trials I've been in that no, they're not going to let a person testify to what they think something is. They don't do that. That's an objection. That's not an exception to the hearsay rule. And so but yet we gonna put in here that if you just what you said, if we think somebody's still saying, I think, well, bam, they give it. Go back to what I said earlier. Objective, subjective. So I just want us to, I'm like you, I want us to look close, and not just this bill, but look close at that, y'all. I realize, I'm through, Mr. Chair, when I say this. I realize that, let me put it this way. This ain't my first rodeo being in politics. Every 4 years, we have an election year. Every 4. So if you've been here as long as I have, you done been through a lot of these years. I want everybody to understand. And we can't forget that people live after this year. They live the next 3 years before we get back to these kind of things. And so I just want to say that to everybody as we move forward, please keep that under consideration. That's all.
Thanks, Senator Smithman. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? We're on the bill as substituted. Senator Weaver, what's your desire? You want to go ahead and vote this out today?
And Senator Smithman, if you have any suggestions on what we can do to make this better, I'm happy to have those discussions with any of y'all that you want to bring. So if you want to bring us some suggestions, happy to work on that however you want to.
All right, thank you. I'll make a motion for favorable report, second by. Okay, sorry, I didn't see. Sorry, Senator Orr. Let's call, any opposition using previous role? Okay. Noted, and I believe that will happen. I know those conversations will happen. So without objection, using previous role, the bill is given favorable report. Thank you, Senator Weaver. Next up is Senator Smitherman. Now we're on SB 34, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My mama told me ladies were first. See, so I don't want my mama rolling in her grave. You all remember when we had initially had all these threats against the Jewish synagogues and all of that, and then we came forward with legislation, and I was integrally involved in a high level with that. I don't know. I think I might have been a sponsor, but in part because of the communities that I represent. I represent the vast majority of that community in the county, the Jewish community, and because of those threats, we did a good job with that. Well, I had the opportunity to also get some response from judges, and go back to. Let me back out and say this: because of this element here, not only we need to pass this bill, but we need to, and I want the chairman to hear me, we need to put more money into the court system to where it's not just two people at the door. You got these heavy trials going on in these courtrooms. You need security in there, and the security needs to be, I'm not trying to put folks out of business, but the security need to be the deputy sheriffs, because you say, okay, we got security. Yeah, when security gets them out, who they got to call? Deputy sheriffs to come handle it and do it. Why not just have them deputies right there, take care of business and get them folks on out of there? So in that vein, I had our judges to say, look, they start talking about threats that they get and the first thing I got to thinking, what happened to that lady, the judge that was on TV where the man jumped behind the thing and and all of that. Y'all don't seen it on TV. Y'all remember I said this about when who was that, the Rodney King and all that, not King, but the guy with standing on his neck and all that. I told you all, I said we need to address this before we get to Alabama. Well, we in Montgomery. I ain't got to tell you what happened here. I ain't gonna even say it here. But I'm saying the same thing here. If we sit around and don't address this, we're gonna have something to happen when our judges in the state, and then we're gonna think the need to do it. This is to make sure that does not happen the best we can. So that's what this bill is designed to protect our judges. It's a friendly amendment from Senator Price, even though, it'll be offered in here, who wants to include, I think, elected officials.
And members, y'all should have that amendment in your packet. I'm supportive of the amendment, and
I am too. I am. I think it's the right thing to do, and
Got a motion to adopt the amendment by Senator Orr, Senator Smitherman on the second on that. Senator Albritton, question, comment?
Give him a comment if I may?
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for that. I am concerned with several things in our society. First off is that the public areas are becoming fortresses.
That's right.
Whether every courthouse, every police station, every public building, it seems there's screenings going on, and schools in particularly. Parents can't get to the schools. Once a kid goes in, and the parent can't see or eat without permission and we're creating a fortress mentality here, and I'm concerned with that, on where we're headed. Making public officials, particularly in this, would, I think, have a chilling effect. It's difficult enough to get people to come to a public forum anyway. And if now there's you're running the risk of someone who gets a little bit angry sometimes, not that that would happen to any of us, and then be caught in a circumstance where it could be construed to be a threat along that line, we're going to have a very chilling effect on public involvement in government, which we're continuing to have. I understand the issue, and I'll support the bill, but I cannot support the amendment at this point. And I think we need to be very cautious about continuing on this line. Yes, we need to be careful, and yes, we need to protect those in public office. Yes, we need to be able to control the public forum and such, but I'm not sure putting additional criminal felonies on folks and building a armor, if you will, around a public official is the correct way to go. That's my comments. Thank you.
Senator Albert, if I could just respond in support of Senator Smitherman's amendment and bill as a whole. In order to be convicted of making a terrorist threat in the first degree, which is what this bill deals with, the person credibly threatens commit crime of violence against a person or do damage of property by use of a bomb, explosive, weapon of mass destruction, firearm, deadly weapon, or other mechanism of any of the following occurs, and it lists. So this is not to a judge from the amendment standpoint, or from the actual first part of the bill, or to the amendment. This is not, I don't like you, you're a bad person, I'm even going to hit you.
It's a separate paragraph, though. It's a separate paragraph, and it doesn't tie into the other. That's my concern. I understand, and I love the qualifications. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Senator Cole-Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that it's sort of a sad state of affair that we are even discussing this, but this is the state of the society that we live in. It's sad. It really is sad. And I think about our children all the time, especially when you go in schools, you have to go through metal detectors and things like that. And most schools are putting up some kind of fencing around the school, so you pass by some of them. I retired from City Hall, and since then they have put up all these gates and what used to be a breezeway that you could walk through, citizens and everybody could walk through. Now they got bars up there, and I'm like, oh God, I'm glad I left, because it's kind of like a little prison in there for me. But until we get real about gun control, until we get serious about that, we can talk about these things. But if you're not going to get serious about doing something about gun control, which some of us don't feel that way, but that's the crux of it. Think about your children.
We're on the amendment. There was a motion to adopt the amendment, and there was a second?
I second.
Second, that's right. Senator Smitherman said, motion for a second on that amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? If not, any opposition using previous roll on that? No for Senator Albritton, no for Senator Singleton on the amendment. That gives the amendment we're on now on the bill. The amendment was adopted, correct? Now we're on the bill. Had a motion for favorable, Senator Carnley.
Second.
Second by Senator Smitherman. Any further discussion on the bill? Senator Singleton will be an aye on the bill. No. Negative Nelly down there, no. Yeah, Bill's, Senator Orr, we recognize you. The bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you, Senator. I just want to thank you for bringing this, and we're tracking, you and I, when this is the reason the picketing bill that I brought in got a good amendment that we've been working on. But same thing, like Senator Coleman Madison was saying, it's our society, and and I understand what Senator Albrecht is saying too, about the public forum, but these are the days in which we live, and we got to do things that if people want to make threats, and they're held accountable.
Well, can I be recognized? I can just tell you that this is not trying to go back and forth about the issues, but I'm just saying the prevalent of people. It's not the fact that I'm not saying it's not, but I don't consider it the major factor, the fact that we've allowed flexibility for people to get guns, as it is our desire is not to have background checks of who has guns. and because of that, you got people out there who got guns, and when I say access, you got people that got guns who are not stable. And I can just, anytime that you got people that get on Facebook and they sitting down there holding these Glock guns on Facebook, or riding in their car and taking selfies and putting it on Facebook, then it's no mistake why you turn around and you had, like up there where I am one weekend, 4 people at an outside forum at a housing place with folks out there. You had 4 people to get killed, and because it's in my district, I can tell you 2 of them wasn't even the victims. It was 4 people standing out there, and because you have that mindset that y'all talking about, 4 people are dead as a result of that. And so I said that's something we have to do. Lord, we got to do our part. Law enforcement are doing the best they can. I just want to say that to Lee and the rest of them. They really are. I mean, they're having a hard time getting officers because we ain't paying them nothing. They just tell the truth. People don't want to put their lives on the line. People tell me that's some good money. That ain't no good money. $32,000 and $42,000, $45,000 to put your life out there on the line. No, it's not. Them folks need to be making $70,000 and $80,000. I mean, if we want to be able to recruit people and get people to do that, that's up to us. Here, our priorities spending. We talking about a revenue generator that may come now. Well, that money needs to go in those areas, not in some pot that we fit around want to, our special projects and stuff like that. It's kind of like your house. You want to go out there and buy some new shingles, and you ain't even painted your house or cut your grass. That's what we do. So I'm just saying, I know we're trying to get through this, but we've got to, y'all. We've got to. 'Cause we've got to be able to help our law enforcement by giving them some tools, and that is to be able to get the manpower and being able to make sure that they have some kind of impact on knowing the condition and people who are getting guns. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Smithman. Point well made. The gentleman with the pen on the budget's down on that end, so I would agree with you. We need to put more towards law enforcement. That bill is given a favorable report. Next bill we're on, Senator Smithman, you're on deck. You're in the hot seat again. SB 89.
Let me ask you this: is how many of you all? I'll ask you just like this: when you come to, how many of you all have been to Elwood Cemetery, a ride out funeral home? You have? Okay. Then you can understand. You may have not remember, but I bet you if you've been there enough, I'll just use this one place. Today, whenever we get through, I say that because I don't know what we're going to be doing. Whatever we get through, I'm going to get in my car and go home. When I go home, I get off on Green Springs Avenue. And if we get out of here early enough, when the 5 o'clock traffic, Green Springs Avenue is going to be bagged up on the freeway from the ramp off of Green Springs all the way down to the freeway, all the way back down, not all the way, but back down the freeway. And when you come over that hill, when you coming through Homewood and drop over that hill, you gonna bam at 75 miles an hour, come right into them people right there that's trying to get off that ramp. And by and large, one of the big problems, you got people standing there almost in the ramp, and you can understand the public safety that happens because of that. We're not trying to eliminate people from being able, I guess you call it panhandling or whatever. We're not trying to eliminate them in other areas in that metropolitan area. But these ramps are a safety hazard. We've been lucky that we ain't had a 3 or 4 car accident where you hit one and knocked the other one into the other. You know, and as late as night before last, I almost ran over the leg or the foot of someone because it was dark. And I couldn't even see them standing in the road. You know, and so what this bill does is takes them off the ramps. We had one bill that took them off the main roads. And last year we passed it.
Right.
And now this just seems to expand it to, look, you can't stand up on the ramps to do what you want to do. You can stand anywhere you want to downtown, anywhere else, but not up on the ramps.
I support your bill 100%. If you look in the news in Montgomery, and I'm sure it's no different in a lot of the other major metropolitan areas, you know, there are people in Montgomery who are victims of a hit and run all the time. To your point about causing wrecks, about 3 weeks or so ago on the Eastern Bypass, already have a law in effect for that, but I almost got rear-ended by somebody who had walked out in front and anyway, almost rear-ended. It's a safety for the drivers. It's also safety for those folks who are standing on the road. So I agree with you 100%. And I'm assuming that you're going to make a motion for favorable on there.
I will.
I would like to be able to second you.
Okay.
And then I would also add to that is that whatever laws we have here, it's got to be enforced, because we can put this on the books that I think will be a good law, but we got to have that enforcement of that. So, so we have a motion for first and a second. Any other discussion on Senator?
The only thing that I say, if this passes and it becomes law, we need to find some way to really make this publicly known.
Yeah.
Because people are creatures of habits, and they're out there. Yeah, it's not just that, but in the medians all the time, whether they're collecting or something. You're right. If you're out there late at night, you don't see people.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the previous version that had passed from last year provides that law enforcement, I believe, can notify them. They don't have to arrest them to begin with. They can just say, hey, listen, you're in a spot that you shouldn't be. Here's the law, and maybe even take them to a location that's safe, I believe.
Actually, it's on the level of a warning citation move the first time. It gives them the flexibility, if they don't, then to be able to at least move them to where they need to. And most times it's going to be to a shelter anyway, you know.
So any other further discussion? Have a first and a second. You have problems with cows getting out and being on the road. Senator Albritton wants to be added to the yes column. Any opposition using previous role? Hearing none, the bill's given a favorable report. Motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank y'all, committee members.